What's up and welcome to a brand new episode of Bricks and Toys. Every single year, I feel like I share the same story, and this year is going to be no different. I will say, with every year that goes on, I will shorten it up quicker and quicker, but the fact of the matter is, with every single year that I do YouTube, I have a few hundred more of you guys tagging along to the new videos, and that just means that I have to repeat myself and get you guys all caught up and include it in my story of Lego. My story with Lego is very simple. I was not raised in Lego. I did not have the money to do Lego. Once upon a time in COVID, I came across a Star Wars Lego set, and let's just say the rest is history. And my two number one themes was Star Wars ships and vehicles. I loved to build the vehicles. But then I picked up a camera, started filming YouTube videos, and when I started to do that, I met somebody in line at the Lego store one day, and they said that they're waiting for the new modular building to come out. And I was like, what's that? And then when I got into Lego 100%, I realized the meaning of modular buildings. How they come out only once a year, or should. There was the museum that kind of threw that off in 2023, I think it was. But anyway, once a year, we get a new one of these, and it is always anticipated, and it is really freaking fun to build. And every modular tells a really cool story, and if you're lucky like I once was, you'd be able to put them into a Lego city and put little cars to drive around and all of that good stuff. And with the building of the A-frame cabin and my first modular building, I realized that I didn't just love to build Lego starships and vehicles. I love to build Lego buildings as well. Every single year that moves on from me building my original Lego city, if you guys are subscribers for that long, thank you for staying tuned. I appreciate it. I always ask myself, do I want to do the new modular? But you know what? With Lego, you just can't simply just say, you know, I don't have a Lego city no more. I'm done. Once you get hooked, you're hooked. And with the modern format of the channel being tight for cash and trying to make it work, there was just no way around it but to, well guys, do our next build here on the channel, which is the next Lego modular of January 2026, and that's going to be Shopping Street. Now this one, I'll tell you right off the top why I tried to talk myself out of it, besides the fact of 1, space, 2, lack of a Lego city to find a good use for it. 3, I've sold most of my modular buildings except for a few that really mean a lot to me. With all of those reasons, it kind of leaves me wondering, why do I still do it? But the fact is, I just love building these. Now this one, I almost talked myself out of, not because of those reasons I just mentioned, but because it does look like something. And we'll get to that towards the end of the video when we're in the review. So why did I end up actually purchasing this set? Well, like I already said, I cannot get enough of Lego buildings. I just am addicted to the styling. I'm addicted to the techniques it takes to get done. I'm addicted to the stories. It's just really freaking fun to me. And at a price tag of $250, when compared to other licensed sets, it doesn't seem like a very bad deal at all for something really cool. So along with this build, I did want to mention there was a GWP. It was for purchases of $200 or more, so I did get that wrong, not once, but twice when going over everything. But let's just be honest here, this GWP pretty much is made to pair with this modular. The colors are matching. I just think that they would look really good together. So we will be tacking this GWP along with this review segment of this video. But that's for later. Now let's start by going over the box, seeing what details we can collect and all of that. As I already said, it's a $249, basically $250 set. It is set number 11371 with 3,456 pieces. It is part of the Icons lineup, the Modular Buildings collection, and it is an 18 and older set. That being said, black box, greebled bottom, we get the deal. Up here at the top, we have the name of the set, we have the Lego logo, and then right in the middle, and if you're not blind, you can see there's a modular building. Now, looking at the modular building, as I've already said, It looks like something, we'll cover into that later, but the building itself looks really freaking cool. It looks really classic with that white with the blue. With it being white, I can already tell you guys, be careful around windows with this. You don't want a Parisian street experience of where it's going to yellow really bad. With that being said, it kind of does give a Parisian street vibe with that white and blue roof. Going over here to the side, we have a really interesting little side building with what looks to be a little walkway in between. We have a little birdhouse with a pigeon element, which I've never seen before. We have people with furniture. We have band people. We have shop keeps, it looks. And we even have a maintenance guy with a rat. And I feel like that's a really played out thing with modulars, always putting a rat in there. But you know what? It's probably a tradition at this point. Overall, the set looks really good, minus looking very similar. The moment I laid eyes on this set on my first review video of an early preview that I watched, I was like, I really would like to experience this set in person, compare it to what I think it looks like, and see if we've been there, done it, or now we're going to do it differently. Looking at this side of the box, we just have the set name in different languages. We have our country of origin and our do not eat it, Lego logos. Coming over here, we have another section of the set, more of that nice angled front of the hotel or whatever this is, portion of the set. I guess I kind of gave it away what it looks like, thinking that it looks like a hotel. Wonder why I would think it looks like a hotel. Lego logo, all of that. We're going over here to the top. We have our lineup of minifigures, which looks to be, like I said, a furniture guy, some type of carpenter, construction. We have a disabled person with a crutch, some band people, and a shopkeeper. Going to the bottom of the box, we have the traditional app.com, all of that, Legal Eagles barcode, all of that, recycling. And then at the back of the box, we can see our dimensions. This set is going to be about 14 inches in height, about 10 inches in width, normal 32 by 32 base plate size. It pairs with the museum. It pairs with the two-door corner from last year. Unfortunately, out of all of these modular buildings, I no longer have my museum. It was just a little bit too wide at a base plate and a half for my collection. And then I added 2 side buildings to my museum, making it over 2 base plates wide. And at that point, it just had to go. To have a museum, because it on its own never really looked too good to me. It needed those extra buildings that I built off to the side. If you guys don't know about that, check that out on rebrickable.com. Look up the museum, and then you'll see the extra buildings that you can build. It is an awesome build if you have the space. But I do still have my two-door corner, and we will compare the two-door corner to this with its look-alike set from 2022. All at the end of the video. Coming down here, we do have a breakaway of the set. We can see that our base has these really cool angles, and then we go up into the next level, which is still all one piece. And then we go to our next level, which is just the roof of our section over here and the other middle section of this building. And then we have our last section, which is just the roof. And then we have our pictures, and we can kind of see it looks like a little bit of an apartment. And then we have our next picture, which looks to be a person with a garden with that bird cage thing up at the roof. And then we can see it connects like all modular buildings do. Then it looks like we have a little bit of a band area. Then it looks like we have the carpenter's furniture place. And then when we have a little bit of a story of a water leak, it looks that the maintenance guy is fixing. So everything ties into everything, as with all modulars. And with that, guys, we've gone over the price, we've gone over the box. Now there's nothing left to do other than let's get our knife out and let's give this thing a cut open. All of our bags are really wanting to get out of here. They're all pressed down at the bottom. So let's relieve this stress by giving this a good old whack-a-doodle. And with that, we can begin to get our first look into the box. And what do you guys see? Well, a lot of plastic bags once again. So let's do our pour and get it all out of here. And we are relieved of our bags. Now this set is over 3,400 pieces. I'm going to shoot and say 23 bags total. Let's find out if that's true and count them out. And at the end, we are with bag 21, 22, 23, and 24. So I guessed 23 bags. Our total is 24. We do have some extra envelopes floating around. Now, I do want to say the packaging is interesting. Like with the Iron Man Mark IV, we are half paper, half plastic, but some of these are actually plastic and plastic inside of the bags, like our bag number 1. So I don't know if these sets are getting packaged up at a different time, and that's why some are all paper, some are half paper, half plastic, all the way through, like this one is. It's just a really interesting thing with this transition that I keep talking about, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it today because, well, we did that with the Iron Man video, and we don't need to repeat ourselves. Let's go ahead, let's open up our base plate, and our base plate is not a special color, it's just the bright green. And then in here we have our books. Let's hope that they stay with the tradition of no stickers in the modular building. They tried that with the cinema and people didn't like that too much. So let's see if they continue. Yeah, looks good to me. And then we have our book. Going through our book, it is an 18 and older set. It is back to that glossy page, so I don't know why our Iron Man was a matte finish. We do have information about the design team, the set, everything. It doesn't seem like there's too much to actually read about. Hopefully we can get an idea of the actual story behind the set like these all have. But we are up and building bag number 1 by page number 9 with our first minifigure. Our last page of the build is on 436, but our last step is going to be on 435, building a lamppost, and it's going to be step 600. So 600 building steps and 435 pages to get this 30,400 piece set built. Now, really quick before I let you guys go and we hop right to the review segment, let's talk about our Funny Hats Parade or Silly Hats Parade vintage car over here. This is going to be the GWP at $200 or more, like I already said. Set number 40913 with 243 pieces. The box is the 18 and older style box. It does look like we get 2 minifigures, a funny little banner, and then we have the vintage car itself. All look really nice. It does look like one of our guys has like a hamburger hat without the lower bun, and the other guy has like a little airplane doodle hat, or whatever you want to call it. Now on the back of the box, it just shows the back half of the car with our minifigure in a suit and the other one in a casual outfit. Up at the top of the box, 1-to-1 of one of the minifigures and an image of the 2 minifigures together. And then on the side, same thing, the front box art on this side, country of origin, do not eat it. And then on the bottom, recycling information, lego.com, apps, barcode, legal eagles, all of that. And then with that, that leads us to open up this box, which is going to have 2 more pieces of tape. And then we're going to look inside and do our little pour. And there's our pour. So we do have a little bit of a sticker sheet with this guy. Then we have 1 bag and 2 bags. So only 2 bags to get this one built. But check this out. Here is the instruction booklet to it. We do get a barcode on a GWP set. So we do get 20 points with our GWP. I don't think I've seen that yet, but that is really cool for a GWP set. And then with our little book, we just go right into the build on page number 4 with bag number 1. And we finish this guy out on page 60, but on page 59, we have step number 63. So we have 63 steps more on top of the 600 with the modular to get that little car built. And now I get to spend quite a few days putting all of this together, and you guys don't have to wait like ever. Do you guys ever have to wait? No, because the review segment is coming up next. Okay, here we are at the review segment, and before we get into the building and all of that good stuff, along with this GWP, and eventually getting up to how does it pair with last year's modular and why the 2022 modular is here, we need to go over the minifigures. So before we get into all of this juicy stuff, let's get into our minifigures. That way we can put our minifigures back where they go with these 2 sets. So we're going to start off with the minifigures to the vintage parade car. And these guys have silly hats because they are members of the annual Silly Hats Parade. This is going to be the vehicle driver. We have seen this minifigure suit before with the last year's 2-door corner. He only has 1 face. Our next minifigure is going to have like a hamburger hat without the lower bun. This is a lady minifigure. I think I've seen this torso before, but cannot remember why. Basically, back torso print, front torso print, just like the other minifigure, no leg print, and these are your two minifigures for the vintage parade car. So to start this one off, you are not seeing double. We do have twins with this minifigure. I don't think we've ever had twins in any modular building. Well, we do now. We don't have any leg print. We just have front torso print. They are sharing different expressions, and they are holding different sorts of desserts coming around to the back. They do have a back torso print, but there is no secondary face printing. Just like with the minifigures and the vintage parade car, those also do not have double face printings, just the single. Now these twins are members of the marching band, so they do have the option to switch to a marching band hat to go with their marching band uniform that you see them wearing. And somewhere I read that this symbol on the marching band outfit is the same that matches the Town Hall Modular. Now this minifigure in particular does come with a hat off to the side that you can switch for the hairpiece, where if you want the one for this minifigure that my thumb's pointing to, well, that one is going to be inside of the set on display in the instrument store that we'll get to later. Now those twins do have a mother, and well, this is the mother. Again, sporting a very familiar torso that I believe I've seen before. Also has a shoulder bag, all black legs, and back printed torso, but she is walking with a magic stick. This is actually like a crutch element, so she has recently injured herself, or at least we hope that she recently injured herself. She's not permanently injured, but this is a piece that I've not really seen before. And like with the other minifigures, she only has the one face. Our next in line is going to be the musical store owner, which is going to be this dude right here with a front torso print and a back torso print, and he is also holding some money. I believe this is the first minifigure to have a secondary face, and the only one, and yes, it is. So he can alternate between the two faces. Our next minifigure is going to be the other shop owner, and this is going to be the carpenter of chairs. She likes to make furniture, and she sports the nice overall look to back that theory. She does have front leg printing, front torso printing, back torso printing, and I actually lied, as she does have a secondary face, and I think that's the only figure to have the two faces besides the one I just showed you, and she is rocking that hammer accessory. Now that shop owner does have an employee, and this is the employee. Now he is supposed to be seen with a cart, which I have right here, and he is currently supposed to be transporting this chair to someone across the street on Tudor Street or something like that. Not exactly sure, because this is a freshly made chair that now has to be delivered, and that's his job, is to deliver it. The minifigure has no leg printing, torso printing on the front and back, yet a familiar torso print, no secondary head, and he does have a nice dark blue hat. Now, what is a Lego modular without a little tiny side story? Well, that's where this little feller comes in. This is going to be our plumber. He is featuring a wrench and a toolbox, no leg printing, front torso printing, and back torso printing, only one printed face, and he does have that red hard hat. Now, let's put these minifigures where they go, and let's get into this modular and its story. With our minifigures placed, let's begin with the vintage parade car. And I'm not going to take a lot of time with this, as it is a GWP build, and thus it has actually really good build quality for a GWP build. I didn't really want to say it's going to be all that great, but it actually is not bad at all. It is a basic dark blue and white. It has basic components or pieces to make up that front grille, and it also has basic pieces to make up the side, make up the back. We do have a sticker element right there for the license plate. It does have these two nice little flags. We do have these basic opening refrigerator type doors to get the minifigures in and out. The minifigures do sit with one taller than the other, but that would make sense as this is a parade car and you want the person with the hat to be up higher, that way they're visible. Hopefully they do not get assassinated for sticking out that high. Okay, bad joke, sorry about that. And the car does have these nice little fender covers for the rear wheels. And overall, not a bad build, pretty simple. This build does come with a banner, which we can see right here. It is on these 4x4 plates with all of these tiles and some of these little jumper plates, I guess, for studs. We have two flags on each side of these light poles. The banner has 3 stickers across going Annual Silly Hats Parade with the same logo as the marching band. So maybe the marching band is playing for the Silly Hats Parade. The back side of the banner, well, it just shows kind of how it gets built. Nothing too much. It is pretty much meant to be seen from the front. Now the GWP is out of the way, let's get into the actual set. And here we have our Modular of 2026. And just on the front surface, we have what looks to be an apartment with a music store called Brickley's. Next door, we have the furniture store. I believe we have a little crane to get the furniture like in and out of the window, I guess, when it's made, or up to the roof. Not exactly sure. The bottom level, of course, is the store. The second level is going to be the actual workshop, where this is the apartment. I'm not sure if the apartment is shared with the person that runs the music store, or maybe the person that runs the music store is tied in with the person that runs the carpenter store or the furniture store. Like maybe they're a couple and they live in the apartment together. Not exactly sure, because they both have access one way or another to this apartment building that is tied to this set. Because on top of the roof, we have the carpenter with what looks to be her garden, the going into the apartment, which also we will see soon goes into the music store. Starting off over here with the roof, we can see our carpenter. She's up here. We have a water spigot meant to go into a bucket. Unfortunately, we are not getting any water into that bucket, and we'll get to that in a minute. We have a pigeon coop, which I think I called a bird cage earlier. I don't know why I did that, just dumb me, but that's a pigeon coop, and we'll get into why that's there in just a moment. Along with the pigeon coop, which is done with really nice elements, we get into a little bit of a garden. I like the little ladder effect right here for the garden. It adds a lot of character. There's a little bit of a ladybug. The roof is pretty simple, minus those details. Speaking of a simple roof, going over into the apartment, the roof is very basic. I feel like the designer of the set really loved these handlebar pieces as we see across the roof, as that is the most simplest way I've seen a set decorated. We can see it around here. We can see it above these little windows. It is a very interesting touch. Over here at the point of the set, we have a lot of the nice pearl gold elements, including a wand, a bunch of round stuff, with some figure elements to gribble it in nicely. Coming down the front of the apartment, we can see these nice windows. It is odd to me how this one has the extra small window on top. This one does not, but I guess that just works out with the size of the apartment. It just seems odd because we go down here, we have a nice rounded window that says Brickley's. All the pieces on this are printed, by the way. Then on this one, we have a patio with a door. Then here, we actually have a window with another little window. And then it changes once again. So there's really no consistency through the front point of this building. There is an interesting building technique with these upper two levels of where these pieces are on like a hinge and then they slap in to complement that round look. I don't think it's a bad idea. Not quite sure how I feel about it though, but I think it's just fine. Of course, we have all these little flower elements going throughout to greeble in the set and give it its color. Coming around over here to the side, this is not a floor, this is just a roof piece that is that thick. We have some small windows, we have those handlebar elements like I said, we have a door over here that comes out onto this roof with the garden. Then we have more flower greebling, more windows in that sand green. We have some nice finishing touches to the lower windows. Then we have these nice scroll elements with all of these windows on this floor that looks really nice. We have some of these flag elements, and behind them, more flower elements with that matching technique to the top to tie it all in. And then coming down where we can see our music shop owner, we have the sand green on the bottom. So we basically go sand green, white, and then blue on the roof. And we know this is the music shop by having the trombone or whatever the hell that instrument is stuck there at the top. And we have some nice red awnings. And one thing I found really unique is we have these Technic elements to make up the around the windows of the lower building, as we can see there, and also here and there by the door. And that is just the outside glimpse of the hotel in a nutshell. Coming over here to this side, it's just a flat wall. Nothing going on really over here. So that leads us to take a look into the rest of this building. Now over here, we have more of a dark nougat color for this second level of building, a different window technique. Same thing with the leaves to give it some color. And then we go down to the lower level, and here we get the double doors, a printed sign. We also have some lights outside of the store. We have this nice teal and yellow awning cover, a printed piece that says Big Sale on a chair. Keep that chair in mind for later because we will get to why that's there. Other things to mention, like I already kind of did, this does seem to be like a crane to operate the furniture between the levels using the outside. because this is a furniture slash carpenter type place of where furniture gets made. Now looking at the plaza, we have a nice little cat statue for a fountain. I love all of the sand green and blue little quarter pie slices to make up the nice floor pattern right here on the ground. The sidewalk is traditional. There is a cookie. I'm not sure if the pigeon stole that cookie at the top of this fire hydrant, or if that's a reference to the Natural History Museum, which came out, I think, a year or two before this one did. Yeah, 2 years. And then coming over here, we got the traditional radiator grills for the storm drains, traditional lamp post, as we can expect. We do have a nice little tulip garden bed down here. And then we get into the side of the building, which is really plain, nothing to really see there. And then we come into the back of the set, and then we have another flat surface that's really narrow right here. And then we go into the flat surfaces that is the back. Again, nothing gracing the black wall. And on this part of the narrow flat surface, we do have some windows. We have these nice leaf elements greebled in there like we've seen on the two-door corner last year. We have a solid big window right there. And then we have some more windows, and here we get our first little story plot of a letter in a window with this little mailbox. Well, I guess the pigeons are homing pigeons, and what they do is they take letters to and from. And that's why there's a pigeon coop with a pigeon and a mailbox and all of that in this set. Coming on down, we do have this black pipe. No, that's not a storm drain pipe, because it does have some gauze down here, and that bandage wrapping, or whatever you want to call it, does resemble a broken pipe, and that's why they're not getting no water up to the bucket up there to water the flowers. And why is that pipe broken? Well, it has to do with why our plumber is here, but this pesky little rat right here, which we'll come back to more details about him later, did steal a piece of the pipe. I'm not sure what kind of pipe they're using. Obviously, they're not using lead or copper, or that rat has teeth like Jaws from James Bond back in the 80s, likely PVC or some type of plastic-based piping if the rat was able to chew through it and steal it. Could have been made with like a soybean-based plastic like electrical wires have. That's why he was drawn to it. Okay, too technical. Now let's get over to this dumpster. There we can see that chair that was on fire sale or big sale in the window. I guess the sale didn't work out and they just chucked the old classic chair right in there. There's no really tiling on the back of this set. Why would you expect that? There are these nice little leaf elements to kind of break it up with a tiny bit of tiling to tie in the back of the building. Now, our next plot comes from tearing up this section of floor, and that section of floor comes out through the front. And there you guys can see the big water spill. And this water spill is active, as we can see a little bit of it draining off right there. Let's come around to the front, get a look. And coming in from the front with another piece removed, we can see where the source of the water is leaking. We can see like a pressure gauge right next to it. So this is the big stink of the set, the underlying tone of this set, of the story and all of that, is this water leak with this plumber, and why that water is not getting up to the top because of that dang rat causing all of this havoc. But this havoc does get worse once we get into the set. So this set is going to separate in layers. We're just going to take that first layer off in just one big chunk and get into our actual lower level of the building. And just look at the lower level of this. Look at how that is laid out. We'll come back to the shape of this set here in just a moment, because it's even more pronounced on that part of the building. This is such a weird angular design. I don't think it's functional over just a flex of what Lego and its designers are doing, just to show us collectors that they are really trying hard. Let's come over here into the music store. We have, I believe, like 6 or 7 types of musical instruments, maybe 8 total. I do not know all the names of them, so I will not try. There we get another band member hat. The floor of this is tan color with some red of different colors. The stairs are made of a really interesting technique, as you can see there. But if we move on over, we can go to the separate buildings. So these buildings are not together on the lower level. They only connect up on the upper levels. We can see in front of the cash register, the flooring is no longer tan. It's a mixture of dark brown and that reddish brown, indicating that that water is becoming even more of a problem because now it's damaging the floor in the store. Along with this, we have like 3 or 4 different types of chairs in this store, one in the window, 2 behind it, and 1 on the floor, all of different building techniques. Not quite sure why they have to flex on us, how they can build a chair in so many different ways. And then to finish out this floor, we do have some fabric samples, I believe, hanging on the wall. And that is our first level. Now coming over here to this building, we're going to remove our section here, which will come off in its own piece. And then we're going to pull off our roof section of that level. And now we can get even a more pronounced look at how crazy this shape is. Look at that. That is just crazy. Let's look at the bottom. Wow. I don't know how they get away with it, but they do. Now looking inside of this level, beginning with the furniture shop, we can see the workshop. Currently it looks like a chair is being made. There's a plant for some greebling, some planks of wood to choose from for materials. We have a nod to the old school Lego duck in the workshop. It looks like we have a checklist, a broom, and a bucket. And then we also have a clock that I believe was made at some clock shop at one of the other sets. I believe Two Door Corner that's tied to. And then we come over into a connecting hallway with a door, as you can see there, into the upper level of the apartment. And as we can see, this upper level is not actually an apartment. It's like an extended room for the band members' actual gear. And we have more instruments here on this level. I'm not sure if this is where they're stored or if these are for sale as well. It's kind of hard to figure it out because there is a podium with a letter stuck to it. And then we do have those matching stairs from the prior floor that do come on up. And that's our next level. As we've already reviewed our roof, there's really nothing to go over with the roof, so we can go ahead and just put that back. One misfortunate thing with these sets using such fine pieces, when you touch these sets as they get newer and newer with these smaller and smaller pieces, things do go ajar relatively easy. So you always want to go back and double check, make sure everything's squared just as you want it displayed. And now we move over into our final section to look at for this review. And that's going to be this section. Like I said before, this is just a really elaborate roof. There is a little detail in here that we'll get to, which comes with popping off this section of the roof. Oh, I guess the window wanted to come with it. With our window put back, I guess this is the little rat's apartment. It does have a little stud that the rat can be stuck to if you want to take it off the back of the lot. But there is a little piece of printed cheese in there for the rat. So the rat's got a big, nice open window view. But if you think that's a bad use of a big bay window like that, well, take a look at this. The bathroom on this level is literally where everybody can see. I can get this for design reasons, but man, this is a rough place to put a toilet. I would never use a toilet on a shopping street where everybody can see me using the toilet while they're shopping in my apartment. That is just rough. Alongside of the toilet, there is some toilet paper in there and a sink with a little mirror. Not a mirror reflective element, but just a light bluish gray tile resembling a mirror. And then we get into the actual apartment where we actually have a chair. We have a radio, which is a nod to the vintage radio, which I guess is shared by the same designer as this set. And then we have a 2x2 tile of a common printed element. We have a little banister for the stairs. And then we have a lamp, a bed, and another little potted lamp. We have some rugs. Looks like we have some bookshelves and stuff in this apartment. And that really ties up all of the details within the apartment. To put the apartment level back on, you just line it up, pop it in. Same thing goes for the roof. Just line it up and pop it in. And there we have our building locked in. Done. Now I do want to take a second here and I want to showcase how this set performs with last year's Two Door Corner, which I have right here. So if you have both of these sets, well, let's take a look at these two put together. And this is how last year matches up with this year. I think it matches really well. I like the tones of the Two Door Corner and how it blends in with the tones of the furniture shop and how the stairs gives it a nice break in between. So I think that looks all really freaking good. It almost looks like it would be a perfect double base plate wide modular when you look at it from that angle. And with the Two Door Corner being a corner building, the corner is nicely finished off on Two Door Corner. And here's that minifigure I stated about earlier that has the same outfit as the parade car driver. Interesting stuff. And so there is all of that. And now there is one last thing I wanted to talk about this set that I will not let slide. And that is the angle of this building. It looks like something, and I would be foolish to not go into detail about this, even though we are running low on time. And the reason that this corner building looks so familiar is, well, because of the Boutique Hotel. I mean, we all knew that I was taking it there. It's no surprise. The Boutique Hotel has this really unique cornerish look to it, to where we have this nice little spire with this front window section Then we have these side windows for the hotel with a balcony, and then we have the same that goes into the little art boutique next door with a little bar up on top. This is a really nice modular, and at first I didn't really think too much of the design. It always kind of drove me nuts, but now looking at this set, it kind of makes sense because they took the best part of the boutique hotel, which is this front rounded look with the slanted building, and then they added to it with this building, but then they just made this side flat. And that was always one of my gripes with this set, is which way does it go? Does it go with a building on this side or a building on the back? Because you don't want to put a building here because then you block this side of the building. But if you put a building here, then you block the art gallery. So I always had a really hard time positioning this correctly in my Lego City because they made this set to where it had so many good angles that you literally had all four sides to choose from. Minus, I guess the back wasn't the best on this set. But with this set over here, we literally have a flat side on this side and a flat side on this side. So it is easy to pinch this set in between two, but it really takes a lot of dimensions from this angle of a look because we know what it can look like when you angle a building like that. It could look like the boutique hotel, and it does until you get to that side. So did they rip off the design of the boutique hotel? No, because this doesn't have the same wow factor as the boutique hotel did, and especially does now that you can see of how it can be changed around and repurposed. I think it is a repurposed idea look because we've had it before, as you can see here, but I do believe that the boutique hotel was done better as it does have a bigger floor plan and floors inside of the building to where to get these angles, the floor plans are really narrow and small inside, and then that really takes away a lot of the interior detail. Now, I don't want to keep talking about this all day. I'll open up the comment section to you guys down below to drop your comments on what you think. For now, let's wrap up this video. Okay, guys, so here we are finally at the end of this review video. These modulars, they're getting really detailed, really bizarre, and honestly, with any large Lego build, I'm going to want to cover so much of it because I notice in the comment section that anytime I forget to leave anything into the video or I cut something out of it, you guys notice and you guys call me on it. So I want to make sure I get all the bases covered. So if you've been watching the video up to this point, thank you guys so much. Love you guys. So with that said, wrapping up, I still do think modulars are a really good value for the money. You are getting over 3,000 pieces for $250. You are getting a pretty good build, but I will tell you guys, this is not my favorite modular. It is very easy to recommend it for the price to piece ratio, but it's not easy to recommend it as a set. Now, two-door corner. When you just look at two-door corner, it's easy to kind of feel that way about that set too. But the thing about two-door corner, and the reason that I decided to keep on doing modular buildings is the techniques. The weird techniques to make that black and white little grid, old school European building pattern, the angle of that front. I just thought to build the two-door corner would have been such a really cool experience. And looking on it right now, I can still see that. And I think with this set, I bought this set because, well, I bought that one. I might as well just keep it going. But now that I'm done with it, it's one of those kind of things of like, it's all right. It's a good set. When you look at it in the sense of like what it actually is, it is struggling for me a lot. The person behind the design of this set, all it seems like they wanted to do was flex how many tiny little pieces that they can put together to make a super angled building. And on a street presence, I think that looks remarkable. But you do see between the boutique hotel, which has a similar design, and this, what that can equal out to. With the boutique hotel, we even have 3 whole levels of a building, a lobby, 2 hotel floors. With the boutique hotel, we have fuller floors, full of interior decoration and interior details, And it's just one of those kind of things. Yeah, the set's frustrating. It's always made me mad to try to get it angled correctly. But looking at this, I have a lot more respect for this now. To me, this, when it comes to this design, this is the way that it should be done. It's really off-putting to have this design like this in a situation to where it's supposed to have buildings on each side. And that's where I really suffer with this. There's not a lot of room for interior detail with the set. It looks very bland with the side completely shaved off, and there's so much that could have been done, as one of these levels are guaranteed an apartment. The other level, I don't know if it's a part of the apartment or a studio space to practice, I'm not quite sure. It's like they took the good side of the boutique hotel, copied upon that, and well, here we go. And one of the things I find kind of funny as far as Easter eggs and interesting things, because there is a lot of Easter eggs in this set from things that's came before it and so forth and so on, is if you actually go back to Two-Door Corner from the year prior, there is a white cat in the back of Two-Door Corner. And I find that really interesting because what's the focal point of this set? The white cat fountain. So it's kind of like they were telling us that this is going to be a design element for our next modular, and we didn't even know it. Whether that's important or not, it's all hearsay, but I did want to point out that because I don't think anybody is noticing things on that level. So wrapping this all up in a nice little doggy bag to go for y'all, it's a good value, price per piece, for 250 bucks. It's a very decent price to keep your modular buildings, collect it going, however you want to put it. But just know that it doesn't have that inner richness that I feel like with modulars, we really hit a sweet spot around this time and the police station. And it just seems to be getting smaller and smaller because they want to use super small pieces. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with using small pieces. That's what makes architecture sets look so good. It's just when you're doing so much with them to change the way the walls move and all of that, it starts to take away from the innards, and then we find ourselves going backwards to a time of when modulars didn't have that much interior details, like, say, the earlier 2010, 12-ish sets, and it's kind of like, okay, well, at least we're pretty on the outside, but now we're going back to being empty on the inside again. I do recommend it on one level. I don't recommend it on a other level. If you guys are looking for a more like Intuit type build, a more rich modular, of course, go with the year prior, the Two-Door Corner. It's just, if you guys are looking for a really value, like inner build that really grips you, then check out the ones before it, before checking out this one, as they're all, you know, relatively good price sets. And with that, guys, I hope I covered everything in this video. I appreciate you guys watching this entire video. If you enjoyed videos like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button to follow along with everything that we do here. As usual, share the video with a friend, hit the like button, which is the thumbs up button. Drop your comments down below. I'm really hoping you guys do, and we can really dive into this as a discussion together. And up next on the YouTube channel, well, we're getting into the first batch of Speed Champions out of 2 batches, because we got 6 in this wave. So be sure to check out our first wave of Speed Champions cars. And on that, thank you so much for watching. Once again, you all have a good one.